Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting week of racing here, the Road and Plate Stock Car Series in iRacing. Here we are gearing up at another road course this week. It is week 8 of season 2, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. We're gritting up for the heat race now. As we get ready here, as always, you're on the Humanoid Rogue channel. I am your host here, Humanoid Rogue himself. And if you would, please click the subscribe button down below or click the like button as well. Comment, live chat during. I'm going to be paying attention to all of you throughout. Let us know who you're rooting for this race. This will be my final broadcast of the season, but it is not the final broadcast of the season. We'll have more details on where you can catch the final 2 races of Road and Plate. Let me see here. And very shortly here, trying to get the race audio. There we go. I didn't realize it was off that whole time for you. Sorry, guys. I know you guys like to listen to it while it's sitting through the practice session, but let's do an audio test here. Everything sounds good, sounds good. How you guys doing out there? Everybody having a good time. Everybody trickle in, trickle in, trickle in. This is going to be an exciting road course race, as it always is with this group here. Let's go ahead and take a quick look as they start to roll. Details of the race. As I said, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, you can see the outline of the track there. It is a bit overcast today, 65 degrees, 65 degrees on the track. 72 degrees on the track, my bad. 65 degrees overall, so it is going to be an interesting one for grip. We saw some guys sliding out through practice. Going to be interesting to see how they handle that throughout. The pace car will be diving off right now. We're going to go green immediately. That's how we do things here in the Road and Plate series. We do not keep you waiting as we get ready for the heat race to start. Green flag is in the air and we're off. Just like that, Chris Lucky, Richard Lucky brothers leading around the outside, followed by Dustin Bally, Sam Stoner, and Evan Hubchak. Just behind them, we can see Johnny Rapp, Chuck Labano, Jay Bast, Dan Ott, Mark Royce, Tom Wett, Sean Johnson, Steve Loving, Laura Wiseman, and Benson Weaver, a 15-car field rounding out today. I know we had some people not show up due to varying circumstances. We usually have a pretty decent 20-car field today. Had about 5 call-outs, so all in all, still a pretty decent run. We're a pretty decent group of people we have so far starting out with us here. Taking a look at this, it's pretty much going to be in a line starting out here. Looks like Tom Went ended up coming. Oh, we missed something. Dustin Bally's around, and so is Chuck Labano. Chuck's also spun around. We're gonna have to take a look and see what happened there in a moment, but we gotta let this thing keep rolling for a second. Trying to keep cameras on this group back here. It's getting a little feisty. This pack here led by Dan Ott, the 29. Mark Royce in that 44. Looking to get in around him. Steve Loving, Laura Wiseman, Sean Johnson, Tom Went. You can see him back there. Johnny Rapp is off track. Johnny Rapp is off track in the sand. He's going to come to get back on here. I told you this track, look at him slide. You can see it. This is a tough one today. I saw Sean Johnson off track as well back there. Oh! And there goes Mark Royce completely around. He holds it down, gets it centered, gets it out of the way. No one gets collected there. Well, this has been an interesting and exciting one very quickly. Sean Johnson taking things a little slower than Mark Royce would like him to. Look at him breathing down his neck, that 44. Looking at the tail of the 32 very intently there. Johnny Rapp, Dustin Bally catching up here. Chuck Labano still a bit off pace. And you can see that 44 getting up close to the back of the 32 very quickly. The 32 managing to pull off. As I said here in the Road and Plate series, if you're not familiar, that time in the top, that says it's going to be about 11.5 minutes to go here in the heat race. This determines the field. Oh, look at Mark Royce around again. He's out. Mark Royce through the dirt. Once again, too loose, sending it sliding. As I said, 11.5 minutes to go in the heat race. That will set the positions for the feature. The feature will be 35 minutes. So this racing will continue. And the way this works, of course, is 1 through 10. Whoever finishes 1st through 10th in the heat race here, the positions will be inverted. So whoever finishes 10th will start on the pole for the feature. Whoever wins the heat race will start in 10th for the feature. 11th through 15th will start in the position they finish in the heat race. And of course, the heat race is for points. It matters just as much. So everybody will be fighting hard, trying to get them points up. We're almost to the end of the season, and it is still a tight battle here in the championship. Watching as things settle down a little bit, we do have Johnny Rapp and Dustin Bally. A little bit of a battle back here. This might be a good opportunity. Or Wiseman off track. Try to go back and see what happened here with Dustin Bally as we're speaking. See if we can get a good angle of how the 24 crashed. Again, we are in a replay here. Trying to see what happened to the 24. Looks like a choke up happens. Oh, and because of the choke up, the 52 just ends up plowing right into the back of him. But from here, we can see the Chuck Labano incident happening just outside. So if we switch over to Labano's view, follow Labano here, we can see the choke up. Yeah, just a really unfortunate. It continues to choke up. Labano tries to get down. 29 comes up fast, spins the 346 around. That does it. That is all it took, unfortunately. Things are starting to settle out a little bit. Sam Stoner is catching Richard Lucky here. Sam is closing his gap just a bit. We're going to have to pay attention here to the 65. Steve Loving, Tom Wendt. Laura Wiseman. This group's getting a little hairy here too. The 84 driving real loose, real fast, real confident. Gunning for the back of that 28. Takes it real wide in a lot of these turns. It's going to end up losing her some positions here. Sean Johnson, maybe even Johnny Rapp are going to come around here. But she has a good fire off on these straights. You can see even Sean Johnson got turned sideways a bit there. It looks like Laura's probably just trying to play this a little safer to what she's comfortable with so as to not send the car flying. Can't blame that. Dustin Bally dive bomb to the inside of the 52. Benson Weaver reports he had to back out at the last minute. Sorry, Benson, we were hoping to see more of you. We'll have to talk to you, see what you're going to do next week or the rest of the final two races. Benson Weaver in the number 1, ladies and gentlemen, out of the race. Will not also be in the feature. And just looking at this battle here, trying to keep our eyes on it, because I mean there's such tight corners that people have to slow up so fast, and everybody has different braking zones. Oh, Laura Wiseman off track, comes back in just in front of Dustin Bally. Go take a look at our leader, Chris Lucky. Up there, you can see his brother, Richard Lucky, coming in just behind. Sam Stoner, as I said, looking like he's eyeing the Richard Lucky pretty quick here, trying to get to him. Evan Hubchak also doing well for himself, up in 4th. Jay Bast just behind him in 5th. Dan Ott, you can see in the vision there in the 29. Currently holding down 6th. It's from there that we get to our group. Dustin Bally makes a pass on Laura Wiseman, who goes wide off track. This is what's fascinating, is you can watch as Laura is kind of trying to navigate the track, trying to kind of figure out what her best options what her best options are, what her braking zones are, what good lines would be here. Dustin Bally off track there, and you can watch as she is just falling in line with these guys in front and kind of trying to adapt to their line, taking a lot in. This is only the heat race, so everything learned here will be applied to the feature. So it's a really great strategy if you're not feeling confident going in, trying to sit behind guys like Johnny Rapp, Dustin Bally, here Chuck Labano even, driving pretty well. They got turned around pretty early. Wasn't a lot they could do, so while you're back there with them, sit in line, try to learn something. Not a bad idea at all. Watching here now, we're trained on these guys. Running through the back, I'm not seeing gaps clearing up too much in the front, so we'll stay back here where the pack is kind of riled up together until I start seeing some of those gaps close. Try to stick where the action is instead of just watching a guy drive away with it for a while. I'm sure everybody at home watching right now can appreciate that, get more eyes on far more people at a time. We've still pretty much been in this line formation. Not a lot changing up just yet. If you're new with us this season, this is race 8, and we are in season 2 of the series. Wow, Dustin Bally real sideways there. And with it being race 8, we have had 7 different winners so far this season. Could we see the first repeat winner here tonight? It's possible. Sean Johnson really tried to stay alongside. Tom went there, wasn't able to, almost came up into Johnny Rapp, who's off track. Comes back on really quick here. Richard Lucky's crashed. Richard Lucky has crashed, ladies and gentlemen. Sam Stoner is going to take that second position. Something's happened to the 51 of Richard Lucky. We're going to need to see what happened here really quickly. As we're watching here, the 51 of Richard Lucky, it seems, oh, it just spins it right there. Pulls it off into the grass, seeing the 65 coming his way. Tries to get back going. And Sam Stoner went off track, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, I got pulled away for a moment. And I knew it. I knew I was going to miss something happening here. Sam Stoner also crashing. We have Mark Royce. Going off track here. We got to take a look. Take a look at Sam Stoner. That was a really weird sound I kept hearing, ladies and gentlemen. I know it's like I got really quiet. Mark Royce in pits. I'm so sorry, everybody, but like I kept hearing this weird like hacking sound. I thought my cat might have been in the room somewhere. I still am not sure what it was, but it was starting to really freak me out. But I might have sorted itself out now. I should hope. Johnny Rapp also crashing. Dan Ott catching up to Jay Bast here. Sam Stoner just behind. And this is it here. Chris Lucky will be coming to the finish this time by for the heat race. And barring some really unfortunate stuff, he's going to take it. And here comes Chris Lucky to the line now. This is the checkered flag. Chris Lucky wins the heat race here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Richard Lucky, despite the spin out, saved by the incident that's happened with Sam Stoner, gonna take up second. Here comes Evan Hubchak in third. Jay Bass gonna hold it from Dan Ott. Sam Stoner gonna take up sixth here. Steve Loving leading the charge. Look at this pack. It's gonna be interesting to see what they do to try to get the better position. You do not want to be on the cut. Chuck Labano trying to throw it down. He's not able to do it just in time. Dustin Bawley's gonna take 10th. Chuck Labano 11th. Laura Wiseman 12th. Johnny Rapp 13th. Wow. What a heat race, ladies and gentlemen. It's again, apologies for missing what happened with Sam Stoner. Really, it's just such a really bizarre thing that occurred, but we're all good now. Very interesting here. Chris Lucky taking another heat race. We're gonna have to go ahead and chat with him real quick, see if we can talk with Chris Lucky here. Chris, we're in broadcast. You got us?
Yeah, I got you, Rain. How's it going?
How's it going, man? Well, another heat race in the bag, right?
Yeah, now we get to do it from 10th. We'll see.
Well, it's definitely been interesting. This race definitely does not favor people kind of just in a pack of cars. It seems it's very easy to get bunched up quick and turned real easily. So, how are you feeling about the people you'll be racing around trying to get back up to the front?
Yeah, you know, I trust everybody, you know, that's going to be in the top 10 here. So we'll just have to give each other plenty of room. This track is one of the more unforgiving tracks that we have. So, you know, if you miss your mark, you're going to end up way off in the grass and in the fence. So you just got to be careful around here.
For sure, for sure. Well, I mean, this is it's really interesting. Did you feel confident about this track in particular? It seemed like you had a pretty commanding knowledge of it.
So I haven't run here in years, but I have a ton of laps here in a V8 supercar. So it's amazing how quick it comes back to you, man.
Wow. Well, all right, and we're gonna go ahead and let you get back into planning there with your brother Richard, and good luck to you.
All right. Thanks, Rain.
Chris Lucky, your heat race winner. It's gonna be just a moment here while everybody kind of gets settled in. While we do that, why don't we pull up the results from the heat race? Okay, I'm not out of my mind. Hang on. There definitely is a sound, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to put you all on the pre-race screen real quick while I try to sort this out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't seem like we've started grading just yet. Okay, I'm unsure what's happening exactly. I don't see anything coming from racing. We definitely should have gridded by now. I'm trying to sort out what's going on. This has been a really weird broadcast. Very bizarre things are occurring. There was that weird sound I kept hearing. There was something else going on. I had to make some volume adjustments just now, and now the race is just nothing going on. Let's see if I can find something out here for everyone. I'm gonna go do some investigative reporting. Horrendous news, ladies and gentlemen. Something has crashed in my iRacing in general, and it has, this is an issue. I now need to try to get in. We've missed the beginning of the race because of it. This is a strange technical difficulty we don't normally see. So let me, let me try to get out and hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Am I back? Am I back? Should be back. You should be back. Let's make sure. See if I'm coming through on stream. Everybody can hear me. Am I back? Okay. I'm really not sure what's going on here. This is a really strange technical issue that's occurred, but we are getting the broadcast back up and running. We did lose connection to iRacing in general. I don't have an explanation for you for that. I wish I did. But we are getting it back up now. This has yet to happen so far this season, not having any technical issues. Hey, look! There it is. Here it is. We're switching over. Switching back. Right back into the race like nothing happened. We're here. Okay. Let's see what we can catch up with, because we have nothing to work with. Oh, Dustin Bally is spinning. We just caught Dustin Bally wrecking. Oh, he is smoking. That is not good. What exactly happened here? Right as we come in, just completely loose, and that's it. And that car is totaled. He's trying to truck it along to pit road now, it looks like. Really bizarre circumstances that occurred there, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to try to get right back into the swing of things. We still have 24.5 minutes of racing left. It's really exciting. We got Sam Stoner currently leading the race. I'd love to see how that got there. Jay Bast, Evan Hoopchak, we're looking at them right now. Johnny Rapp and Steve Loving. Just behind with Dan Ott tailing Steve Loving here. Chuck Labano. Followed by Chris Lucky and Laura Wiseman. Chris Lucky, of course, the heat race winner. We did fortunately see all of the heat race. Richard Lucky just behind. Tom went. Dustin Bally still trucking that. That thing is not looking good, man. Whew. Trying to get it back along. I guess if he can still drive it, try to get it to pit road. It's better than towing it. Mark Royce currently down pit lane. Sean Johnson as well. We're looking here, Jay Bass catching really quickly on Evan Hubchak. Okay, I want to apologize not only to the fans, but to all the racers. I genuinely, I mean, you heard me asking about it in here. I'm like, man, it's sure taking a long time for them to start this race up. I'm gonna have to go eventually, you know, went in and asked what was going on, and I hear their race, and my worst fears are confirmed. There's a race going on, and I'm stuck on a static screen and cannot go anywhere. So, thank you guys for hanging in there and coming back. We are in the action right now. Sticking with it. There was no way we were gonna miss it. Sometimes iRacing's funny like that. About the best thing I can say. As we look now here, Dan Ott is sniffing the back of that 27 truck, wanting to get himself a piece, get around him. Not quite able to get there. He does so now. That's all it took, and he goes for the inside dive, and he gets around him. Nice clean pass there by 29. Dan Ott slots himself into 5th. Chuck Labano also catching Steve Loving here. The 346, of course, finishing 11th in the heat race after getting wrecked early. Now finds himself in 7th, eyeing 6th. And there you can see him getting up close. Is he going to go for a similar move as the 29 to get around? Waiting to see if the 346 goes for the dive bomb or not here. Might have an opportunity to cross over just like the 29. He's not going to be able to not get to him just yet. As that's a downhill there, so you can see everybody's, you know, got to be real careful about how hard they send it in there. I mean, that car will just keep going sliding with enough momentum behind it. Johnny Rapp trying to run off. Jay Bass still trying to get up to Evan Hubchak here. Sam Stoner going down pit road now. He's going to take his pit here. Going to have to see how this plays out for the long run pit strategy. Evan Hubchak is leading now. Going to have to see how many more might choose to pit. Here come the Lucky brothers. 8th and 9th respectively. Laura Wiseman. Tom Wen in 11th. Gonna keep coming. And this is an interesting choice by Sam Stoner. We're gonna hope it pays off for him. Ends up being a good decision. Gonna have to wait and see here. As so far, Evan Hubchak is leading this race, and Evan Hubchak, no stranger to being at the front. his current finishes this season. He has finished second at Donington Park, which was race 2. He's also had a number of runs up at the front during heat races. He finished second at Watkins Glen. A lot of runner-ups so far. Not quite had the win just yet. Gonna be looking to see him do it. Chuck Labano around Steve Loving. Steve Loving's parked off the side. Looks like something's happened to Steve. He's parked it. Dustin Bawley there behind Laura Wiseman. You can see still a lap down, trying to gain back some momentum. Sam Stoner now is going to be trying desperately to get up, get back to where he was at. Why don't we ride along with Evan Hoopchak here? Look at Jay Baskin second, see what he's doing a little bit differently than the leader. Laura Wiseman is pitting. Very smooth stuff there. I just think it's a little fascinating to jump on board with the drivers, see how they handle things. Dan Ott catching up to the 52 of Johnny Rapp. Johnny Rapp currently sitting third. Chris Lucky got around Chuck Labano. Richard Lucky has not yet assumed that same positioning. We can see here things are still pretty spaced out, trying to gauge around where any fights are happening. And nothing so far. We have a couple of tight spots here between Johnny Rapp and Dan Ott in third and fourth. We're looking now at fifth, sixth, and seventh, except Chuck Labano is going down pit road now. We're going to start seeing some of these pits happen more and more often. Sam Stoner the leader before, who ended up pitting. Gonna have to see if he can get back up, if the short pit was the right move for him. Because Evan Hoopchak still leads this thing. Four-second gap. Oh, he goes off! And Jay Bast is gonna get a huge opportunity here to make up some time. It's a whole second already. That is not what Evan Hoopchak needed at all. He had a really, really strong run going. And he spun it. This race has been tough on a lot of drivers. Evan Hoopchak, yep. He's gonna take the wise route here. He already knows what's going on. Jay Bass will take the lead, and he will lead this lap. Just realized my taskbar was up there. There goes Jay Bast off the side. We look back here, Richard Lucky is catching up with Chris Lucky even. Gonna be interesting to see. Richard Lucky goes for the pass here on his brother. Looks like they've been pretty much in tandem for most of this race. Probably trying to bring it to the front as best as possible. Danot still pretty close behind Johnny Rapp here. Jay Bass still staying out. Gonna lead another one. It's interesting decisions being made here. It's 11 minutes to go coming up in just a few short seconds. Every decision, every strategy, everything matters. Obviously the field being 15 cars right now, it's a little bit shorter. Looks like we did lose Sean Johnson as well. Mark Royce is also out, so we are currently at 12 cars out on track. Still hanging in there for this thing. Sam Stoner catching the Lucky brothers. You know that 65 wants to get back to where he once was. Sam Stoner's trying to get back to that lead, but in front of him is a pretty iffy situation, those two Lucky brothers. They're gonna be strong foes, strong contenders. He's gonna have to work his way around. Jay Bass, we see him get a little loose there. He's gonna lead another one. Here comes Johnny Rapp and Dan Ott. Chuck Labano going for the pass on Tom Went for 8th. They're side by side back here. Coming up on the turn, the 346 is aggressive. He's gonna lawn dart out in front. Chuck Labano, the 346, will assume 8th place over Tom Went, dropping the 28 back to 9th. Sam Stoner getting in there a little bit. He was catching up. That's gonna set him back now. He's gonna have to regain there. Dragged some dirt, grabbed a little bit of grass. He's gonna stay in contention. Danot and Johnny Rapp being caught up to, though, here. Chris Lucky is now in sniffing distance of third. Jay Bass still pulling away. It's going to be interesting to see if he ends up coming down pit road. I'm unsure what's needed, what's necessitated. I imagine you'd need to for this race, but he's definitely stretching it long if that's the case. I don't believe I would have missed him running the pits, but he absolutely could have. And there's Sam Stoner now back to the back of the 51. And these cars are a lot closer together here in this run from second on back to sixth. All within view of each other. It's interesting watching this 65, trying to see what he's gonna do, what moves he can try to make. Try to get around Richard Lucky. Richard Lucky, of course, was the winner of Watkins Glen. Sam Stoner trying to be a winner here. First time this season. Oh, and there he goes! Sam Stoner's off track. And he hits the wall. Looks like he might be okay. Not so much damage, but that is really, really not what we wanted to see for the 65. Chris Lucky is making moves forward. He is approaching third place with a vengeance. Johnny Rapp is catching Jay Bast as we speak. Johnny Rapp, the winner of Road America, is the 52. Road America was our 5th race this season. Jay Bast yet to win race this season. Johnny Rapp is catching him quick. Unsure of what's going on, if Jay's saving or what's happening here, but this is, I mean, the 52 is catching the 53 so much faster than he was before. We're coming up on 5 minutes to go in here in the feature race at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, the Road and Place Stock Car Series here on iRacing. Chris Lucky gets around Dan Ott. Chris Lucky is up 8 positions on the night so far. He's the biggest mover. And he's coming for Johnny Rapp as Johnny Rapp is coming for Jay Bast here. This one's getting tight in the final laps. We're gonna have to stay with this as best we can. Keeping our eyes trained on the 52 and 53 up here, the 77, not leaving them either. The 29 staying to the back of the 77 though. He's got a catbird opportunity if anything were to transpire. This could be Dan Ott's night. It really could. Dan Ott, winner at Long Beach, race number 3 this season. We have a lot of winners from this season so far. It does feel like it is leaning towards we will have a repeat winner. Jay Bast completely sideways there. I think he's run this thing a little too hard, a little too long. Is Johnny Rapp just fresher at this point? There aren't many more close battles throughout, so we're going to stick up here with the leaders for these final 3 minutes as we see things tighten up. Only a handful of laps left here, ladies and gentlemen, at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, here in Week 8, Season 2, the Road and Plate Stock Car Series. In C-Class trucks, Jay Bass taking real tight on those turns. I imagine having to do a bit of tire management, probably having to do some fuel management if I had to guess. Not wanting to have a repeat of what happened to Sam Stoner, but Chris Lucky is now breathing down second place's neck. It does seem like we have a very strong possibility of a repeat winner here tonight. Jay Bass is just being hounded by these guys. And he's a strong driver, but it feels like he's running on worse material. Laura Wiseman just crashed in front of our leaders here. This could play a role. And Chris Lucky, looking to try to pass the 52 now, backs off, gets a little buyer's remorse on it. And Jay Bast coming down pit road, as is Johnny Rapp. Chris Lucky is going to assume the lead with 1.5 minutes to go. Ladies and gentlemen, it seems like we're going to have a repeat winner. Our top 3 are previous winners this season. Unless something happens that sends all of these guys out right now where they can't finish and Evan Hubchak takes it, it's looking like Chris Lucky is going to end up running away with this one. Dan Ott is desperately trying to hold Richard Lucky off for that second place. And here right now we've got 1 minute to go. These are going to be the final laps here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. They'll finish up this lap. We'll have 1 to go from here. I assume we will, based on how I think time would run out, based on lap times. Speaking of lap times, the person who's run the fastest lap so far in this race, we're looking at Evan Hubchak, it looks like, with a 1:21. Where'd he go? Oh, he disappeared on me. 1:21.26. And this is it now. The white flag is out. Chris Lucky is just gonna have to hang on to it from here, folks. We are out of time. This time by will be the checkered flag. We're gonna declare a winner. And as I said, Chris Lucky, previous winner at Donington Park. Dan Ott, previous winner, Long Beach. Richard Lucky, winner at Watkins Glen. 3 previous winners. All round out your top 3. We are going to see the repeat here tonight. And as it's going on, it looks like it's going to be the 77 of Chris Lucky. And it just seems like he's taking a leisurely stroll with it. Here he comes around now. He already knows, and we're watching. Chris Lucky coming to the line. Chris Lucky is the first repeat winner in Season 2 of the Road and Plate Stock Car Series. Richard Lucky overtakes Dan Ott. So does Evan Hubchak. Dan Ott's going to take up 4th here. Sam Stoner coming to the line ahead of Jay Bast. In 6th, here comes Chuck Labano. real loose in 7th, crashing across the finish line. And there he is, ladies and gentlemen, your winner here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, Chris Lucky, the 77. And this is going to be... This is just a historic moment here. As we get ready for Chris Lucky's celebration. Gonna go ahead and get started with our interviews here. Go ahead and grab our 3rd place Evan Hubchak in the 7. Evan, talk to us a little bit.
Hey, Ryan, how are you?
Doing all right. What a race, man. Tell us a little bit about how things were going for you and what your race was like for you, man.
Yeah, I was surprised so many guys tried to make it no stop. So it was fun at the end. And I mean, I was hustling. I'm a little sweaty right now just because I knew it was going to be real tight if they had to, really ease off. I was able just to clip down at the line there, so it did pay off.
Well, yeah, it did look like you were just outside of that top 3, but something happened. Dan Ott ends up, I guess, loose. Passed by Richard Lucky. You're able to get him, too, pretty close to the line there.
Yeah, I think he was out of gas coming off the last turn. So
that was probably it.
He just had enough time.
Yeah, we saw a lot of guys really trying to stretch it. We saw Jay Bast really try to stretch it out. So did Johnny Rapp. They ended up coming in, pretty much yielding this thing to Chris Lucky at this point. I mean, how did you feel this race was on tire wear and fuel?
I didn't think there was any chance of doing it no stop. So credit to the Luckies for pulling that off. It's awesome. Tires, I nursed them the whole time, so I never really had any issues. But yeah, if you pushed it too much, they gave up on you. But yeah, I was able to save them the first stint, and then was pretty fresh on the second stint. So I was really able to try and chase those guys down as they were fuel saving.
Well, this is it is a little bittersweet. You're making your way back into the podium for the 3rd time this season, but not quite for the win just yet. We are going next week to Road Atlanta. How do you feel about going there?
Yeah, I like Road Atlanta. Been fortunate enough to drive it in real life, which is pretty cool. And yeah, it's a roller coaster. It's a lot of fun.
All right. Anybody you want to thank? Anything else you want to leave us with here before we let you go?
No, you for putting the broadcast on, Dustin for putting the league on, and just everyone for showing up. It's fun.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Evan Hubchak, 3rd place here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. We're going to go ahead, grab our 2nd place now. Get to it, Richard Lucky here, the 51. Richard, 2nd place. How's it feeling?
A little rough. I mean, to get beat that bad by Chris, he was helping me with practice on trying to fuel save. I'm not good at fuel saving. I'm good at just going 100%. And yeah, just didn't have the pace to keep up with him tonight. He's good at this fuel saving stuff. He was actually coaching me through the heat race on how to take that double right-hand corner because I was struggling with that. So, I mean, he's just really good here, and I'm glad that I had him to kind of show me how to get around this place.
Well, I mean, there was really interesting strategies going on. You guys obviously starting towards the back, working your way up. But not only did you do that, this was a no-stop race for you guys?
Yeah, there were 3 guys that made it on no stop. It was Chris Lucky, myself, and then Dan Ott. I think Dan Ott ran out coming to the checkered, and that cost him 3rd. But I think we were the only 3 to try it.
Well, I don't think Dan Ott had much of a choice with how hard you were gunning for him, coming really close there in the final closing laps.
Yeah, I wasn't going to be able to put up much of a fight because I was saving fuel too. I actually ran out coming to the checkered.
Wow.
Right off the last corner. So I was just I could see that he was saving fuel too. So I was just hoping he wasn't going to be able to make it, and I could, bring it home 2nd.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to look back here, and it looks like we've had a lucky in the podium for all, I think all but two races so far this season, and of course you won Watkins Glen. I mean, you're finishing 1-2 here with Chris, and Chris now is a first repeat winner this season. I mean, tell us a little bit about your feelings about how this race went, about this 1-2 finish.
Yeah, I mean, me and him ran a practice race last night, and I pitted and he did not, and he beat me by 24 seconds. So that showed me that was going to need to try to commit to this, um, fuel saving strategy. But I'm just glad to come home second. There's a lot of good guys out here. Evan had a lot of speed. Dan Ott did a really good job saving fuel. It's a shame to see Stoner spin out like that because I think he would have got second. I don't know if he would have beat Chris or not, but he definitely would have got second. It's just really good racing through the field. I love the way that this invert deal works. So this is a really fun league. I like the way that everybody has it set up and just all through the field. Chuck Labano, Laura Wiseman, Steve Loving. I mean, all these guys run you really clean, and yeah, it's just a lot of fun here.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to Road Atlanta next week. How you feel about that?
Well, I wasn't familiar with this place at all, and I'm not familiar with that place, and we'll just see how we do. I feel like I adapt pretty well most everywhere, so as long as it's not a fuel saving race, I think I might be okay.
Well, I'll say. Anybody, anything else you want to leave us with? Anybody you want to thank before we let you get out of here?
I just want to thank my brother again for always helping me out, and thank my wife for letting me do this. Thank everyone over at Ohio Speed Podcast. From Ohio Sim Racing. Those guys are really cool. Check out their podcast. Thank everyone at the league. Thank you for doing the broadcast. I know this is going to be your last one for a while, I think. But thanks for doing the broadcast for us. It's always fun to go back and watch. And just thanks to all the other drivers through the field. I mean, I ran with Laura a lot tonight. Then there at the end, Daniel Ott. I mean, like I said, all these guys are good. I just want to thank everybody for running clean and helping contribute to the league. So thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Richard Lucky, your second place here this evening. And now we're going to go ahead and pull in our winner. We're going to get to him here in Victory Lane. Chris Lucky. Chris, how you feeling?
Good, but that was an ugly win, wasn't it? Spun twice early in the race.
Well, an ugly win is still a win nonetheless, and it was pretty ugly for pretty much everybody else. So it's not like it was a win in vain.
Hmm. Yeah, that was a fun race, though. This is a challenging racetrack.
For sure, it definitely seemed interesting. The wear was tough. The fuel. I mean, it seems like a pretty big miracle that you managed to make it without stopping. How close were you?
I had about 3/4 of a lap left when I finished. Would have had more if I didn't spin out twice, but I was turning the truck off through turn 7 and 8, clutching it and just flipping the ignition off and letting it roll through 7 and 8, and then turning it back on before the final corner. And if you do that every lap, you'll have plenty of fuel to make it.
Wow, it seems like that would have been something that a couple of these guys could have benefited from practicing with a little ahead of time, I think.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
it, I was just going to say it definitely, I guess, helps that you've had a little bit of that prior experience you were telling us about during the heat race interview with those other cars.
Yeah, I actually was talking to Richie last night, and one of the V8 supercar races that I had years ago turned into a fuel saving race mid-race, and I drove this thing exactly the way I drove that. So it just kind of came back to me.
Well, as of tonight, I mean, if we look at the standings for where you have finished repeatedly, you won Donington Park in week 2. You finished third at Atlanta for the Super Speedway race. You took home third last week as well at Daytona. So pretty regular podium attempts for you, but more importantly than anything, you are the first repeat winner this season. Tell us a little bit about what that feels like.
Yeah, when you win that heat race, you dig yourself a hole and you got to start 10th. So, to get up through there and get my second feature win of the season, felt pretty good.
I can absolutely imagine. Well, I'm trying to take a look here and see where we're at in the driver standings. It looks like that puts you in second place currently in the points with
Yep.
4 wins, two heats and 2 feature wins.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate Dustin's going to miss the last 2 weeks because I think the championship would pretty clearly be his. But
Well, I mean,
we'll show up. That's where we can finish.
I'm sure he'd argue that he doesn't feel that way, but I mean, there's a good chance for a win for you here. You're not too far, being chased here by Evan Hubchak though either, as well as Dan Ott. So this thing is not over by a long shot. There's still 2 whole races. We're going to, speaking of next week, Road Atlanta. How do you feel heading into that race?
I don't really remember it too well, but I do remember that I hate it. So we'll see how practice goes. I'll see if I can find some speed there.
Well, if what you were able to do here is anything, then I'm sure you and Richard will probably have a decent run as well. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Anybody you want to thank? Anything like that before we let you go celebrate?
Yeah, I want to thank my brother for practicing with me last night. Thank my friends over at Buckeye Speed Podcast. Thanks, Evan and Palm Rat Golf for picking up the sponsorship for next season. And thank you, Rain, for everything you've done for us this season.
All right, thank you so much, man. We're going to go ahead and let you go celebrate. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Lucky, your winner here, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. We're going to grab 2 more people. Going to go ahead and get the 65 of Sam Stoner in here, who finished 5th. Despite everything, honestly, Sam Stoner.
I was just telling the guys, I'm tired of these "what happened" interviews, but
Well, that's okay, Sam. I won't do that to you. I do want to know though. What happened?
it's a tough track. I was on that the alternate strategy to the Luckies there of try to build as much of a gap as I could, hit the box early, have enough fuel to just safely cruise to the end on some fresher tires than those other guys, and well, in the process of executing it, managed to spin it out of 5 on my own, and that was pretty much all she wrote. Once you overheat the tires in this thing, it becomes a beast to navigate through there, and yeah, just spiral out of control.
We were definitely noticing a lot of spins from people, especially after fresh spins. So yeah, I can imagine it was hard to get those tires back cooled after they'd been heated up like that. I do have to tell you, this is unfortunate news, but despite the fact that like the first 10 minutes of the race weren't broadcast because for some reason iRacing decided to sit on a static frame, and I didn't think the race was launched for the longest time. I just thought you guys were sitting in a long driver's meeting for a minute, and I'm like, this is getting weird. Had to restart the whole PC just to get back into it, but despite missing that and missing a couple of other things, I'm sorry to tell you this, Sam, we saw you spin. It is on broadcast.
Oh. Well, it was going to be, if it hadn't happened, it was going to be a pretty exciting moment because I think, by my calculations, I probably would have managed to overtake those 2 guys. The extra pace I had off of having the fresher tires and the fact that I could push without even having to worry about conserving at all, I think it would have got me by them, but, it's hard to say because you never know.
For sure. I mean, based on what I could see, it seemed like you were definitely about to get Richard Lucky within a lap or 2, just before that happened. And I mean, I can only imagine if you were able to get around Richard, it would have been you tight to Chris at least by the time this thing was coming to an end. So, I mean, it's a lot of what ifs in this scenario, but I mean, there's got to be some comfort, obviously, in knowing that you were competitive enough to have been there at the end.
Absolutely. I mean, I think I proved I can take the fight to these guys. It's just they did a little better at executing today. So we'll see how this goes coming up in the future. I mean, I'm sure we're going to be racing together more than just tonight. So
yeah.
One day.
Well, they definitely respect you. They talk pretty highly of you. So Richard Lucky even said he was pretty sure that you were going to get past, might have been contending for the win throughout it. So there are plenty of people who are waiting for it. Would have been nice. We could have had our 8th different winner, but we just got our first repeat with Chris Lucky. Pretty interesting we got this long, and we've seen it and we've talked about it ad nauseum at this point, but this format has been really interesting and it's yielded some interesting results. And despite Chris, because of the results and the way that the format is, Chris Lucky being our first repeat winner is not leading the points.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Intense stuff, man. These plate tracks really they really throw a wrench in things. I mean, you saw how it went for me last week. Haven't been having too much luck out there either, so but that stuff's just a lottery. That's a slot machine. That's
Well,
really mixing things up. I mean, I'm having a great time racing against those guys. They're great competition. They're definitely highly skilled. There's skill throughout this whole field. So, yeah, I think I'm learning a lot. And one day.
for sure. There is one more road track next week, Road Atlanta. You gonna be there?
Yes, sir. I will be.
Well, maybe that'll be the one. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, I've never been super strong at Road Atlanta. Definitely not like I am at the Mosport there, but I think I can pull something off. Hopefully, we don't have to play any kind of fuel games because I'm clearly not very great at that.
Well, hey, I mean it probably would have worked out for you with the way everything else was going. All I know is that if I ever run Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, apparently I should definitely clutch and turn off the truck through 7 and 8, as Chris Lucky has told me.
Apparently, we've definitely that was a learning experience for me.
Well, anything you want to say? Anybody you want to thank or anything before I let you go?
Thanks to my parents. They're always very supportive of me. Thanks to you, to the other drivers for coming out and battling it out there. Having a good time, having a good season.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Sam Stoner taking home 5th tonight. And we're going to go ahead and grab one more person here. Going to grab the illustrious Dustin Bawley, because this is basically the season wrap-up at this point for my broadcasting. And let's go ahead and get some details about what's going on with Dustin here. Dustin.
Good evening, Rain. Good evening, everybody.
How's it going? Figured it's a good time to do a State of the Union.
Yeah, no, I feel like this was the most chaotic race that we had so far.
For sure. I mean, I know this is really unfortunate because chances are you probably were trying to check on something to help out. I have no idea for sure. But I mean, the moment I came in, I switch over and you're eating a wall, destroying your engine.
I did maybe have a little bit of concentration, but that was a hard race. I usually do pretty good at Mosport, but just for whatever reason, the car just didn't feel great kind of all night. And so I had some issues and had some issues in the feature where I got bumped around, or sorry, in the sprint, got bumped around a little bit and I didn't have the best run there, but yeah, it was good to see some other people in front. Obviously the Luckies kind of came back at the end there, but I saw, Jay and San and Dan Ott running up there and doing a good job. So the goal here, obviously, with the league is just to have as much different competition as you can. So I think that, everyone kind of had their moment to shine this race, and that was kind of what we want. So I think we're going to be in good shape for the last two.
What do you think about Chris and Richard and Dan making a no pit race?
It's one of those things that I don't put enough time into practice, and I probably should to see what's going to work and what's not. They ran a 35-minute test race beforehand. That was something that I think like McCoy used to do last season, and really putting the time in, and it pays off in these races. Like, if you can make the pit strategy work, it's great. Dan Ott almost repeated his feat from Long Beach, but he was whatever 150 meters short or whatever it was. But yeah, if you put in the work ahead of time, yeah, it pays off in the end.
I mean, I have to say I agree. That was weird. I had one of those rechargeable air dusters just turned on. I think I accidentally kicked it. Sounded like a vacuum going off. This was an interesting one. We had technical difficulties.
I think everyone had technical difficulties. Steve had technical difficulties. There were people having issues with like your broadcast and their equipment, and yeah, it was just kind of a weird one. One of those that you just kind of
Yeah. When you go back, you'll see it. You'll see exactly what happened and when it happened. Like there's just about a 5 to 10 minute period where it's just sitting there and it's on a
I'm
static
glad you were
screen.
yeah, I'm glad you were able to resume the regular broadcast though, now to create a new file. That way the followers could follow along.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I at first I thought you were just in a really long drivers meeting. Like I thought something wrong had happened because it wasn't just like iRacing doing nothing. iRacing still was just like stuck. I even jumped, like I jumped to a different screen to not show the back end, and I pulled into iRacing and I was clicking around and like I was live on iRacing. Everything was right time. I tried clicking to different cars. It wasn't pulling anything up. I'm like, weird. Okay. I look over at iRacing's at the SDK, and everybody's grayed out, and it still says it's gridding. And I'm like, man, this is taking a really long time. You know what? I'm gonna go hop in and see like if they're talking about
If
something.
there's a race going on, yeah.
Yeah. So I go hop in, and all of a sudden, you guys are like, "Hey, what's up? What are you doing in here? Auto broadcast?" And I'm like, "Oh no!" My worst fears. It was a race happening.
Hey, it's all good, man. It's all the broadcast is mostly there and it's continuous, and so it's beautiful. It's a good thing.
Oh yeah, we didn't. We did unfortunately miss what I'm sure was a chaotic start, which I was
Yeah,
really
no,
excited to watch.
Yeah, I think Tom went, I think spun, and then I don't know who else was collected, but the Luckies, fell way back and made their way back to the front. So that was pretty impressive. Again, you're right. The top three finishers are the same in the sprint and the feature, which is hard to believe, kind of looking at the start of the race, but
Yeah.
how it ended up. So yeah, no, it's been a good it's been a good season so far. I'm excited to call it in the booth. Like there's a lot of stress sometimes sitting in the driver's seat. So
For
I'm
sure.
excited to, now that I've raced with these guys, kind of sit in the booth and enjoy the show. So I'm looking forward to the next 2 weeks, and then we're looking forward to having you back when we start season 3. I think that's June 6th.
June 6th. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. June 6th.
Mr. Rain Braun himself will be back. So we're very excited about that. As with our Palm Rat Golf guys, we will have a new graphics package and
That's right.
series name and all that stuff. So it's going to be a whole new show.
We're gonna do ad reads again, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna have links everywhere. Links for days.
I think we're gonna have to hook you up with a Palm Rat Golf polo with the Road and Plate logo on it and put you on camera.
Almost certainly.
The intro section, like Larry Mack.
If you find a way to make that happen, I will find a way to make that happen at least once. Well, I mean, we're talking about it. Like I said, this is our first repeat winner in 8 races, so that's pretty impressive. And despite being a repeat winner, he's not currently leading the points. You are.
Yeah, it's like it's a 5-point gap. He's I don't know who's had. I feel like this race obviously was like a huge anomaly for me because I would finish 10th and 12th or whatever, so I didn't get a whole bunch of points. And he's had some kind of off weekends, but he's drove solid. I mean, I feel like he's on the podium. Like I think he's on the podium.
He's been on the podium 4 times now.
Yeah, and I think I mean, him and Richard obviously have a pace advantage. Like they had kind of 6/10 on the rest of the field, so the sprint was a little bit of a snooze fest, I'm sure, at the front. But then, yeah, watching them drive through the field, however they end up doing it is always like really exciting to watch. Richard last week or 2 weeks ago at Watkins, had a really impressive run, and then Chris, you're down and out, but then you find a way to win, and that's how you win championships. So if he does pull it off, Chris, I think that'll be well deserved, and it'll set a good story for. Hopefully, he'll return for season 3, and then we'll have a defending champion on the grid for the first time. So that'll be good.
There you go. Well, I will say, despite the fact that Chris Lucky has been on the podium, I am double checking. It is 4 times. There it is. Yeah, 4 times. That's actually tied. You've been on the podium 4 times, so that's probably why we're.
I have.
It's so tight.
I have Steve Loving. He's my secret weapon on the super speedway. So with him in my him in the chat, we're never far away from the front usually in those.
For sure. Well, I mean, something important to note, and this is a big reason I wanted to pull in. Obviously, like I said, I'm off for the rest of the season. Got a lot going on personally this month, and So not going to be doing the final 2 broadcasts. We'll be looking to come back for season 3, but that does leave the final 2 races. And so I wanted you to be able to tell the fine folks where they should be going next week and what they should be looking out for.
Oh, yeah. Well, the best information for the league, and I think I forgot to put the broadcast up on our Facebook page, and I'm sorry about that, is facebook.com/roadandplate. And then it'll be on my YouTube channel, the Bali Civic YouTube channel. So I'll put a link to the YouTube channel up on the Facebook page, and then I'll try to remember to put a link to the broadcast directly on the Facebook page. So that's where you get all your information. Go to facebook.com/roadandplate. We try to give you race summaries, stats, pictures, and then try and converse with the fans that way. So facebook.com/roadandplate.
I wish YouTube had a host feature like Twitch does, where, you know, like for instance, I'm not streaming right now, you know, on Twitch. If one of my friends was and I decided to host them, if you went to my page, you'd see their stream playing. That'd be really fortunate in this kind of circumstance where I could host your channel, and that way if anybody trickles here by accident, they can still get to the race pretty easily. Get on that, YouTube. That wouldn't be that hard. That'd be pretty useful.
TV friendly.
Yeah. Well, I guess that pretty much is going to wrap up here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Is there anything you want to say?
No, it's been a good season so far. I'm excited to wrap it up in 2 weeks, and I'm thankful to have you back broadcasting. It means the world to me. And then we've had a couple people who were missing today. You know, we haven't seen Phil Keck in a couple of weeks, so it would be good to get him back. And just thanks to everyone who shows up and makes this special. And then obviously a big thanks for Evan Hoopjack for getting us a nice jump start on season 3 with the sponsorship. That's a huge help. So just big thanks to everyone involved in the league. It's awesome. I appreciate everything that everyone does.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Dustin Bali, you've heard it here first. You guys are going to need to go to Bali Civic. The links will be posted up on the Facebook, Road and Plate Facebook. So make sure you go check there. I'll probably drop a link in the comments on this VOD here for where to go for next week. But this will be my final sign-off this season. Until next season, starting season 3, we'll have to see you guys. I will be tuning in to watch the races, though, so I expect you guys to be as well. Thank you so much for everybody that comes and hangs out and everybody who comes back week after week. It has been a wonderful time. It's been really cool. This has been a great league to be watching and being able to commentate over. Really exciting stuff going on here. Really excited to see where it goes next. Either way, I have been Rain Braun on the Humanoid Rogue channel. And until next time, next season, I must bid you all goodbye and good night.